baby.
We're going at it at 110%.
I just want 5 minutes of happiness, please. Just give me 5 minutes.
They did it! They did it!
Left, feet left.
What the hell was that? Oh, yeah.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Jesus, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Your guess is as good as mine. I thought when you asked if we were ready, you just asked if we were ready to go live at 8 o'clock. I didn't think we were going live like that on the spot. Caught me off guard. Tested me, seeing if I'm ready. Can't fool me, Steven. I'm always ready.
Are you now?
Oh, man. Got to stay ready. Got to stay on your toes at all times here at A2D Radio.
Yep.
Never know. That's right. No notes, right? As Tom likes to always say. Oh, my God.
Absolutely,
I need Villanova
brother.
to come up with a backdoor cover somehow. That would be nice. I need Duke to win. That would be nice. And then, we want all the people at home to answer our poll question. Do you think Duke will win the national championship? Coach K's final year. It all just kind of seems to be, we all know that'd be a moneymaker and a ratings whore for the NCAA. I have an interesting thing about the Duke UNC rivalry that I think will even sway me more towards Duke tonight. That we'll talk here in a little bit as we get into that conversation about our poll question. But before that, if you're looking to buy or sell a home or looking for a change in career or brokerage, you contact Alan Foy of eXp Realty LLC at 302-682-8820 or visit him at alan.foy@exprealty.com. Had Alan on with us last week, spent the whole show with us, had a blast. Ton of fun.
Alan's always fun. What are you talking about?
Now we've got Steven back, and we have to, welcome back, Steven after what? It's been close to 2 months.
I think it was.
Lonely without you. We miss your ugly face. It's too good looking with me and Daniel here. We need some ugliness to balance it out.
Yeah.
Oh, is that it?
And speaking of Alan, we talked about, of course, a coach that we thought that might get a new job, and of course, the St. Peter's coach 2 days after we were on took the job with Seton Hall. So
yeah,
back to
that was a little bit of a weird argument. Alan trying to convince us he should stay at St. Peter's and try to turn them into Butler. No, who is he? At Butler, you could go find kids out in the middle of a farm somewhere, and bring them in, and it's who would have known you could have played basketball? At St. Peter's, you're recruiting with UConn and all these these programs up here. It just didn't really seem productive. He had to get out of there. Seton Hall. Now I could see him turning Seton Hall from a program. You're okay, they're good or whatever. They're decent, a fringe top 25 program on their best years. You could maybe turn them into some sort of powerhouse in the Big East or something. I could see that happening. The resources are there, and obviously he's one of their own. His alma mater led him to a tournament years ago. I could see it. University rallying behind him.
Yeah, it's not like he went far. He went right up the road, stayed in Jersey. He can recruit a little bit better. He knows, of course, the campus and the environment because that's where he played, like we said. So it'll be interesting to see what he does in the bigger conference.
Yeah, I said the Syracuse job I thought would have been perfect. I said we talked about in college basketball, college athletics in general when it comes to recruiting. People showing up at your door with a briefcase full of money. If you're talented enough or whatever, hey, come play at this university. Here's a briefcase full of money. Maybe you could apply that standard to somebody like him as a coach. If I'm Syracuse, fuck any of these kids that are prospects right now, that's a charge. No fucking way. No way. Let's go, Mr. Official. He's got money on fucking Kansas. He does. What a fucking piece of shit call that was. No way is that a block.
Yeah.
Damn it.
But what coincidence was it that he has this great run in the March Madness, and then his alma mater job comes open all in the same time frame?
It's not a coincidence at all. They were ready to kick that. Hey man, you've done some good stuff for this program, but you're not Shaheen Holloway, so deuces. And before a program like Syracuse does show up at his front door with a briefcase full of money, it does show up at St. Peter's front door with a briefcase full of money. It's hey, sign on this dotted line, and you've got we'll make you the highest paid coach in college basketball. Yeah, before that happens, maybe you should try to make things happen now while you still have a chance if you're a program like Seton Hall.
And to the poll question, I agree with it. I think Duke's going to win the national championship. I think Kansas is going to be the team that's going to give them the most run. North Carolina has had a good run, but I think they've played an easier schedule in the tournament. They've been able to take advantage of some easier teams. They've kind of played ahead of what their game has been. And I feel like Duke's going to be able to beat them handily today with how they've been playing all tournament, playing for Coach K. It's his last, of course, season. And what a way to
I guess Jason's upset tonight. Don't be upset, Jason.
Yeah.
All right, damn it. Like, we can't even make a goddamn stop so I can get a backdoor cover. Jesus Christ. I didn't even need a win. Need some backdoor action. God damn it.
All right, and I'll be the homer. Like, I know everyone loves the Tar Heels. You know, you got Kansas in the mix. You know, you literally have probably the four most notable schools in college basketball over the last 25, 30 years. You can make an argument for a school here or there, but Duke, North Carolina, Kansas, and Villanova are very, very recognizable schools in college basketball. So first and foremost, I'm definitely I'm more of a Duke guy than a UNC guy, but obviously sounds like Nova isn't gonna be able to pull it off and get Kansas out of there. So I mean, I definitely would have to go with Duke. More like to what Zach was saying, just because Coach K's last year, his swan songs, so to speak, and as much as he meant to that program, and and a lot of those guys early on meant to his success, because people also forget how close Coach K was to getting outed before those early 91 teams. People forget about that sometimes. So I would definitely like to see that. But college basketball is all is crazy, especially when you get into the end of March Madness, and you get down to the last few teams. Crazy things happen sometimes. We'll see what happens. Zach, you've touched on it. Daniel, you touched on it. Some of our listeners are really looking for the Tar Heels to kind of do the thing. Andre already hopped in there, and Mike Parker was already in there earlier too. So.
Yeah, I think one thing that hurt Nova was losing Justin Moore with that. I believe it was the ACL tear in last week's game. He was averaging, I believe, 16 points a game, one of the leading scorers. So whenever you lose a guy like that to your team, it's kind of hard this late in the tournament to make up for it. And then to play a team like Kansas on top of it was a tough task. And it was too much for him in the end. I think had he not got hurt, this would have been a very good matchup, and it would have been more closely played. But of course, when you have one major guy down, it's like being like minus 10 points off the bat. You got a lot to recover from. And we got Tom chiming in. What's up, boys? What's going on, Tom? And then Mike going in there, beat him at his home game and beat him in the last tournament game. That is true, but then again, Duke beat UNC in UNC, so it kind of balances out. It's the rubber match of the three. So it's going to be interesting to see with both teams playing very good. These two teams didn't even win the ACC tournament. VTech won it. So these teams got hot once the tournament started. So it'll be interesting to see who gets going early and then how they play going in the second half, depending on who gets up. Because in this tournament, Coach K has his teams ready in the second half. They've been a slow starter in the first half. They go in the half down like 5 or 6 except the last game, and then they come in the second half and they come in guns blazing and they come from behind and win. So I think it's more indicative that UNC get ahead early in this game instead of playing from behind, because I think if UNC is behind, it's going to be harder for them to come back in the game compared to Duke.
Zach?
I'll say that I found an interesting stat earlier that was floating around online about the Duke-UNC rivalry. Since Coach K came to Duke, this is going to be his 100th career game coached against UNC. He's 50-49 against UNC. This is your final year, your final game against UNC. part of your legacy, your biggest rival was what you did against your biggest rival sort of thing, right? I mean, you got a chance to have a winning record against your biggest rival throughout your tenure as a head coach, or, it was 50-50. We were 500. In some ways, there's some that's one last thing that, accomplished all this stuff. But if there's one last thing, almost have to have that little, that bragging right to be able to say, had a winning record against our biggest rival sort of thing. Yeah. It does seem like it just, I don't know, one of those things that long-term big picture will end up mattering when they talk about his legacy in the future. I just see them winning tonight. That was the stat that made me kind of go, that. No way. And then somebody's going to bring that to his attention, and no way, his players, whatever, no way are they going to, is something going to happen where it goes from him having a winning record against their biggest rival to him not.
Imagine if he were to beat, of course, UNC tonight and then Kansas in the title game. In his last season, he would have beaten Kansas, UNC, Michigan State, and Kentucky all in 1 year, which is crazy to think about, all those big schools. And he could have done that in his last year. So that's something that I think would be crazy for him to do, to go into the sunset with the national championship, being all four of those major schools.
And what else do you guys think is going to be the surprise? You think with what's left, Kansas, you think there's going to have an unsung hero? What do you feeling? Because there's always a surprise when you get down to the last one.
For me, it was kind of I should say it was a surprise that Kansas made it to the title game, but no one thought they were going to make it because no one was talking about them. This was the 1 year where they didn't win the Big 12 tournament for the first time in a while. They came
Villanova makes me drink.
Yeah, they came in. They were able to kind of go under the radar because all the other teams that were playing good, of course, Gonzaga, Duke, UNC was getting hot at the right time. Kentucky, you got all the number one seeds, and even though Kansas was the number one, the people weren't really saying that they were going to win it. They're saying Gonzaga or Duke or Kentucky were going to win it, and Kansas was able to just play their game, take all the noise out, and then just play really good basketball. And I was surprised that they were able to just go under the radar. And then, of course, North Carolina, as an 8th seed, making it this far is crazy, being a big school, but they didn't have a great year. They just got hot right at the right time. That's all you got to do once you get to this point is get hot when it matters. You can be 500. It doesn't matter. 500, 2 wins, 2 losses, 5 losses, 6 losses. It doesn't matter. As long as you play the best basketball at the right time, that's all you need. And North Carolina, I knew they were for real once they beat Baylor. That Baylor game shocked me how well they shot from the field in that game. And it wasn't just like they just beat them. They outplayed them except for the last 2 minutes of regular time. And then overtime, they couldn't miss. And Baylor just couldn't stop them in the paint. And that's going to be a key for them against Duke, is in the paint with the rebounds.
I don't even think I want to watch the Duke game anymore. Villanova makes me absolutely sick. I just ripped Bill Self last week, ripped him for being overrated, called Jay Wright the best coach in college basketball, and you get embarrassed in Final Four. I can't even get a fucking backdoor coverage. Not even like I bet him. It's not even like it was like a 4.5 point line. It's not even like I bet him on 4.5.
You're letting your betting emotions take the best out of yourself, brother. You're letting your betting emotions get the better of yourself right now.
Yeah,
brother.
Somebody's going to pay for it tonight too, Steven. I'm telling you. Some gum-gum's going to pop up in the chat room and really trigger me, and we're going to have at it. It's not going to be pretty, let me tell you. Wait till the other things that we get into discuss. Wait till the other topics pop up, okay? Wait till all these different things pop up throughout the course of the night. This is the easy stuff here. Wait till we actually get into the debatable stuff. Good Lord.
So how you feel about that bounce back game for the Sixers last night?
I like their bounce back performance tonight against Charlotte, where they were today against Charlotte, where they won by 30 points. I like that one.
Yeah, Maxey had a good game.
Yeah, that was solid. We have no depth. The bench is just not good. And Doc Rivers, it's like he might as well be Joan Rivers over there on the sideline. You know what I mean? Like it's I don't think this dude. Like I'm like, it's one thing that like I get like I don't expect you to go out there and like just be like a god, an absolute coaching god and outcoach everybody that that steps on the other sideline across from you. But this is almost ridiculous. Like how bad. You've been coaching in the NBA for how long? Like you've been an NBA coach for how long? You can't get simple rotations correct. I mean, you can't make the adjustments in game that we need. And then like you've got the new reports about the players aren't feeling them. What the players aren't feeling you? Again, how long have you been around? And the players are like, yeah, this guy. I don't even know. We got 5 games to go in the regular season, and we're over here. Like, this is the type of shit that we got going on. Like, it's just crazy to me. His seat is absolutely red hot at the moment. Like, it's burning up. Like, it could not be any hotter. You went out and made a trade like this. Like, it's like championship or bust, and there was already championship expectations. And now you're about to fall flat on your face after making a blockbuster trade that shook up the league.
Well, that's the thing with me. That's one thing that's killing me right now is we made the blockbuster trade for James Harden, and he only makes like 5 baskets a night, and that's it. Like today, he went 4 for 10, had 12 points. He did have 13 assists, but this is the guy that you gave up 2 players and 2 or 3 draft pick, 3 players and a couple first round draft picks. And this guy's out here only managing 4 or 5 baskets a game, getting between 15 and 20 points. And then, of course, today he only had 12. We didn't need as much today from him. But you're expecting him to get 20 to 25 points at the least. And the past 5 games, I think he's averaging 15 to 17 points a game. And with Maxey not doing 20 points a game right now in himself, you're basically making Embiid have to carry the load once again. This is why you made the trade, so you can expect less from Embiid. He can take less load off of himself and put it on Harden, and yet Harden's doing just as much as what Ben Simmons would have done if he was here. It's just that he's shooting and still only getting 12 points. He is getting to the line. That's a good thing, but I need more than 4 or 5 baskets made a game from James Harden. I need him to get that 20-25, not 15 to 20. And right now, that's one of the things that I think is killing the team on top of the bench, because this is why you need the move, because you're like, okay, we're not expecting much from the bench. Let these guys do it, and they're doing less than what we expected. I said the 3 guys, Maxey, Harden, and Embiid, have to score at least 80 points a game, in my opinion, for them to win comfortably. And they're barely getting 60 right now from the 3 of them. So, with that, you have to get something from the bench. And they're not getting that. One game, somebody gets 8 points. One game, somebody gets 6. And you're barely getting 15 points from the bench. And when come playoff time, that's not going to be good when you're getting inconsistency, not from just the starters, but your bench as well.
Listen, it's crazy, as the season is going on, we've had enough of the roller coaster stuff. Obviously we're getting into it some more here with what's going on with Doc and the guys that are here. We're gonna have to, find some way to overcome that, or there's gonna be let down in expectations. you're gonna have to find rotations that work. This is what you should have been doing over these last few weeks. You have to find that happy medium, whatever it is between rest time and getting the right mixes of guys on the floor, where you don't find yourself in these positions where teams can go on these big runs and walk you out of games. that's God.
I think at this point, the seeding is the less to worry about, and maybe your worry might be to maybe sit Harden and Embiid and let some of these other guys start and play and get time, because just like as Zach said, we only have like 5, 6, 7 games left, and you need them to be battle tested and ready. So why not let them start, let them get in more minutes, and then just play Embiid and Harden less? Because they're.
Well, I'm not sitting there saying you should curtail them over the next handful of games that are there. I'm just saying you have to find the balance that works. I don't care who how the point distribution works out.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean. Who hits 20, who doesn't. As long as we have the production from everyone that we need. Even if it's a little bit of low from the points, but we get them on the back end with rebounds, assists, etc. Wherever you get the production from is what we do. The thing is what it is. It's so inconsistent right now. That's what I'm saying. Where you have to find your balance, your meeting between it.
I don't think we have a guy on the bench that we can count on night in, night out. We got guys that every now and then they can do something. But part of me feels like it would be better. Like, I don't want to now, but part of me felt like maybe it would have been better to have Danny Green start and then either had Harris or Maxey come off the bench. That way we had a guy that can score off the bench that you can count on 10 to 15 points, instead of having him in the starting lineup and then have Green come off the bench, but then him being inconsistent.
What's up, Don?
What's going on? And because you got him and Georges Dang, they're your top 2 bench players, and you got DeAndre Jordan, but you barely play him. Like, when he plays, he gets 9 and 9, which is pretty good, but he's behind Embiid, so he's not going to play that much. So it's like, how do you find time to get him on the floor when he might be your most better player coming off the bench, because he rebounds and scores in the paint? It's like they need to find these lineup changes, and they need to work in these last 5, 6 games to see what they can do going in, because all these teams, like the Bulls, know what they're doing, even though they're not playing as great. The Heat are on fire. They know what the lineup is. They could go 10.
But here's the thing.
The Bucks are great.
Like even if you're not playing completely up, like, listen, it's playoff time. You're gonna get juice from some guys that you don't normally get. As we get ready to go to the actual topic of what's going on. Well, with Doc Rivers, obviously, Zach, you know what it's about. Ready to get time for. We gotta change it up, right, my friend?
Well, yeah. I mean, I kind of want to let the show just kind of dictate itself, and we'll go with the flow of everything until our guest comes on at 9:30 tonight, which we'll let you tell everybody about here in a couple minutes. But
she's not going to be coming on.
Another one of our H2D sponsors, my favorite H2D sponsor, because as we can tell, there's a lot of shaving going on, in my life. But if you're somebody that likes to manscape and keep yourself trim and proper, you can get 20% off plus free shipping with the code H2D at manscaped.com. It's 20% off plus
Make
free
sure
shipping with
smooth
the
and
code
nice and
H2D.
clean down there for your lady friend. Make sure it's all nice.
At Manscaped, whatever your reasonings might be,
and guys, if you're using that code, make sure you save a screenshot. I promise you, at some point in time over this next month, that we're gonna be doing some swag giveaway for our sponsor type stuff. I got some stuff lined up. I was talking to Big Tom about. We're gonna unload some stuff on you guys this month. We're gonna have a little fun. But changing that topic, Doc Rivers and that job security. I still think we could be successful this season with or without it, but I have to agree with Zach's sentiment. You know, he probably has the biggest spotlight on him right now. You know, and it's not just because of this team that's built around him. He's kind of built this reputation of coaching really good teams badly. It started to become a cancer on his coaching resume at this point in time. Can someone refute that? You know, of our other two co-hosts tonight, do you feel that's a fair assessment, or am I going too far?
I think it already is that. I think it's already like well established that that's what his reputation is. As far as, you know, people looking at it. I think when he initially left Boston to go to LA, it was a little differently. He was still viewed as this top, you know, tier NBA coach, but they had an original like big three type thing, you know, right before LeBron, you know, with Miami. Like Boston puts it together with you know, Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, and Kevin Garnett. You've got one of the all-time great teams there together for a handful of years. You get one championship out of it. You go to LA where everything's built around you to make it seem like, you know, hey, we brought in this championship coach. You got a championship team, Paul George and Chris Paul and all these guys out here that are going to play together, Blake Griffin, and it's, you know, just doesn't work out. Again, underachieved year after year after year. So by the time he's gotten to Philly, I really do think the reputation, you know, is now that he's a guy that is underachieved with very talented teams.
Obviously, I brought that up, and I obviously agree with it. Now, that being said, you think between Joe, James, and you know, Maxey Thibault, you know, Tobias Harris, that they could potentially still get a deep run in the playoffs despite the dysfunction that they feel is going on with Doc?
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess you could. Sure, you're talented. Embiid's going to carry you, you know, on his back just by himself to begin with certain nights. You know, you need Harden to find, you know, whatever the player that he can be, you need him to find it. I don't think he's ever going to be the guy that he was, you know, in Houston or in his prime or whatever, but he looks washed at times. He just looks really like he just looks like a dude that everything that made him an elite player, it's kind of like.
But he doesn't need to be that guy here. That's what I'm saying. Like, I still think they can.
But he can only play the game one way, Steven, as a scorer. Like the way he attacks the rim, the way he has to score the basketball to be an efficient scorer, that can't change. It's not like he's, you know, he's not this super athletic dude that's going to beat you on the dribble and get the, you know, he finds it. He's got his step back move. He's got all these little things that he does to help him, you know, create the offense that he creates. But the older you get, you know, you got a little bit less explosiveness in, you know, in your first step, you know, a little bit, you know,
it feels hard.
Exactly. You know, Samuel sees what I'm saying. You know, a little bit less of an ability to finish in traffic at the rim. You know, that step back move and that pull up three. Your legs aren't quite what they were 5 years ago, so that's not quite the, you know, the shot as consistently as it used to be for you. You're just not, you know. I don't think he's washed. I think that's like overrated to say, but I don't know if he's an all-star player.
I think it's fair to say that he is aging as a basketball superstar. He's still a name. He's still a guy that can make plays and win games for you. Daniel, I know you.
I'm worried that he's going to like be Russell Westbrook by like the end of next year, type of thing. You know what I mean? Where you just watch the guy and you're like, yeah, you're a dude that thinks you still got it and still trying to play the game like you have it, but you don't.
But going back to what Marcus said, he said the last 5 games, Harden's averaging 23 points, not including today. You got to include today where he had 12 points. So in the last 5 games, he's averaging 19 points a game, 12, 18, 14, 29, and 32. He's had 2 very good games with the 32 and 29, but then he's had 2 below average for what he should be doing. And that's the part I'm trying to get to.
With is always averaging. He was supposed to come in here and take pressure off Embiid. Yes. It was supposed to go score 40 points tonight, so Embiid can just not have to be the fucking horse that carries this team every single night on his back. Can he have an off night where he goes, let me chill and you go score 45? Yeah. So don't miss me with this. Oh, you're averaging 23 points a game and something. Not bullshit. Bullshit. He
So
disappeared.
he's averaging 19-20. He's averaging 19-20, but we need more from that. We didn't trade for him to get 19 or 20 a game on average. We trade for him to get 25 to 30, and he's not even doing that. And just like he said, Harden is disinterested and isn't professional. He loves strippers too much and doesn't take care of his body. He takes care of his body. Yeah. He just doesn't score from the field. Like he gets a lot of his points from the line.
Hold on a second. Let's be honest. I don't know. I don't know if there's any scientific evidence saying that strippers are bad for your body. I don't know. I mean, maybe if they're fat or something, it might be bad for your body. They might crush you. But outside of that, like, I don't know. Maybe that's good for his health. I don't. It worked for Tiger Woods for a lot of years. The more pussy he got, the more golf tournaments he won. The more majors he added to his collection. So hey, I'm not knocking that side of it, but I'm just saying. We get embarrassed at home by the Knicks. Yeah. Where was he in that game when we got embarrassed at home by the Knicks? Wasn't even like he was non-existent.
And then we get embarrassed against Detroit. Detroit's a team that we have to beat handily, and we can't even do that.
Yeah, you can't lose that game. Like that's not a team that's this is a championship team. You just lost to Detroit. Yeah. Like, oh my God. Like, I mean, I get it. Like, it's not the end of the world. Detroit's actually been playing decent basketball down the stretch. But you can't be a championship team and lose to Detroit.
You're killing Mark, apparently.
Come on now.
You're killing Mark, apparently.
But to go back to Doc Rivers, though, they brought him in because Brett Brown couldn't get past the second round.
Here's the thing: if they get rid of Brett Brown right now, do you think Sam Cassell would make any difference?
I think he could.
If the players relate to him more, yeah.
It could be a scenario. Well, I don't want to say the same, but like where you bring a guy in that used to play. You see how what's his name did with Cleveland when they got rid of that Euro coach, brought him in, and then they won the championship.
David Blatt, wasn't that his name? I don't.
David Blatt. And then, of course, who
isn't he kind of pushing that right now? I mean, the way that Maxi's kind of built him up over this last year. I mean,
well, Maxi has been inconsistent. Maxi has his really good games, but then he has a game where he has 7 points or 11 or 12 points, and he barely.
It's going to happen when you're a 20-year-old second-year player.
Yeah.
So I can't have Harden giving me 12. Oh, well, it's okay that Harden only had 12 points today. No, it's not okay that Harden only had 12 points tonight. No, it's not. It's not. That's not okay.
I would say it's okay if he could get Maxi going, and then if he scores 15 points and then Maxi gets 25 or 30 because Harden sent him up, that's one thing. But he's not even doing that.
I'm going to ask Mark a question on the backside of this. Why do we have to go to guys like Mark D'Antoni?
What has Mike D'Antoni ever won?
Why do we have to go to these type of names? If Doc is out, cool. I understand it. If Doc's out, fine. If Sam's the next guy that we try to run with next year or in the future, great. But why we always have to go with these named coaches from the past that are mildly effective with teams?
I might keep trying to lure Jay Wright as much as I can. Hey, you just lost in the Elite Eight. Yeah. Hey, here's another boatload. Speaking of of briefcases full of cash, here's a blank contract. You want to be the highest paid coach in the NBA? There you go. Sign on that dotted line right there. It's a guaranteed contract that makes you the highest paid coach in the NBA. I don't know. Maybe he says no, but I know I'm going to continue to knock on his door. Hey, Jay, I know we do this dance every year, but maybe it sounds like a better idea this year than it did last year. I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
You're better off going with the Sam Cassell or
I don't know.
I'd still rather go with Sam Cassell, because I know Doc Rivers stinks. I don't know what Sam Cassell could be. Maybe Sam Cassell's a better head coach. I don't know. Yeah. I know he knows these players. I know he's not some foreign dude coming out, that doesn't understand what's going on in this locker room. Sam Cassell's in that locker room every day. Yeah. So he knows what the vibes are, what the feelings are.
Even Yeager, who used to coach, he's on your coaching staff right now.
You got another one, right? Yeager's another,
All right, so Mark's got to respond to you. Let's let Mark respond to it, right? He's a Darryl guy, and things of that nature. So, I got a couple comments here. Hold on.
I mean, I don't the connections there with Darryl and Harden because, Darryl was the GM there, but still, that's all business, and the business side of it had to work correctly and had to work itself out in the right way for that trade to ever happen. Same thing with like, oh, great. Just because he's got a past relationship with D'Antoni doesn't mean that like, oh, it has to be the guy. Why? Because like you've got a past relationship. Like, great. I mean, like I get it. Like, awesome. Like, first of all, D'Antoni's got one of like the most up-tempo offenses in all of basketball. Joel Embiid ain't running up and down the court in that up-tempo offense. Joel Embiid looks tired for all 40 minutes that he plays on the court to begin with. Oh, he's bent over at the knee. Like this dude looks exhausted. There he comes dominating you on the other end of the court again. It's amazing. He's like the most he looks like the most fatigued like player like I've ever seen. Yet he just dominates the shit out of everybody.
He still finds the gas to get it done.
But like you don't sit here and tell me he's gonna run up and down the court over the Mike D'Antoni offense? No. And James Harden ain't doing that shit no more either. Tyrese Maxey would probably thrive in it because he's young and athletic and got all that energy. Great.
Yeah,
he's a kid.
But then you would have to move.
Daniel, you know how kids are.
But in order to do that,
run out of energy. Good Lord, they got all the energy in the world.
But in order to do that, you would have to move Joel out of a position of dominance.
Yeah. I mean that to me that's just not a fit at all. With
I think the thing with the Mark said I would have loved to promote Udoka, and I just know how Derek operates. The thing is he was lower on our poll because we had Cassell, Jaeger, and then Udoka was on it, and then Udoka went to the Celtics because he was able to move up the coaching ladder there quicker to be the assistant, and then when Stevens took over the operations there. They just moved Udoka up to the head coach, and he's doing a great job there. And, of course, they're hot right now. It's just it wasn't going to be a thing that was going to happen with how he was. I think he was the third coach on the pecking order here, assistants-wise. So we would have had to have moved him way up over. It would have been something crazy to make him the coach. And that's what happened. But I think Doc Rivers has to get past the second round. I think that's the benchmark. You get to the second round, maybe he's safe. But if he doesn't get through the second round, I think he's gone because
win me a championship or you're fired. Win me a championship or you're fired. I mean, there's no point for me to keep you around. It's taking to the Eastern Conference Finals.
I agree with Daniel. If he makes it to the Eastern Conference Finals, he unfortunately might keep.
Brett Brown took me to the Eastern Conference Finals. We fired Brett Brown because he couldn't get us past the Eastern Conference Finals. Don't tell me Doc Rivers should keep his job because he could.
He never.
I'm calling both of y'all out right now.
Zach,
he never made it to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Zach, would it or would it not be the first time that he took him to the Eastern Conference Finals? Correct?
Give a damn what he fucking done. No, you were brought here to win the championship. You don't get to keep your job because you're taking me to the Eastern Conference Finals. That's not why I hired you.
You know how the ebb and flows of the NBA works, Zach. If he gets him there, you know how it's going to go.
That doesn't matter. I don't want to sit here and live in mediocrity. We've got a really small window with Joel Embiid. You don't get to say, oh, we go to the Eastern Conference Finals every year. That ain't doing shit for me when I got a really small window right now. I need to win a championship. Find me somebody to do it. I can't go to the Eastern Conference Finals each of the next 2 years and say it's a success. No, it's not. Not when you just made this blockbuster trade. Not when you've got Joel Embiid, the best player in the NBA right now.
Well, he's one of the best. I don't think he's the best. He's one of the
He's
best.
the best player in the NBA right now.
No,
right now, he's the best player in the NBA.
I don't think he is. I think he's top 3, but he's not the best. But when you're playing,
the dude scored more points. The guy's got the most points per minute played of any player in NBA history. Just past Michael Jordan for that. You want to act like right now, at this very moment, he's not the best player in the NBA?
No, he's not. I don't think he is.
Okay, right.
I'm gonna say it again. Like I did 2 weeks ago.
I think Daniel. I think you're bleeding into much of that national perception of that he isn't. But
no, it's not national perception.
He is. Factually,
he's not though. Factually, he's not though because
who is?
I'm saying Jokic is better than him right now.
Oh my God! Would you stop it with Jokic? Don't fucking take it. What are they, like a 7 seed in the West? Oh my God!
Yeah, and then with the
I got Embiid over here carrying fucking everybody on his back. We make a blockbuster trade, and he still has to carry the team on his back because James Harden can't stop getting fucking lap dances from strippers and fucking showing up to work overweight every goddamn day.
And yet
Embiid shows up overweight and dominates people.
And yet he still can't beat the Nuggets, and the Nuggets beat them 2 weeks ago. And who can you say is the second best player on the Nuggets compared to Harden?
Listen, how many?
Yeah, but what impact has Jokic had for them to sit there and say, "Oh, like he's a 7 seed"? It'd be one thing, like if they were like fighting for a top seed, but you're not.
But they have this. But they have the same. But they have the same record as the Sixers. The same record, and they beat them already. Like I'm a big fan of the Sixers, but I'm being a realist here and knowing that
that's not being a realist.
You got a guy in Jokic who's in the top 5 in points, assists, and rebounds, essentially. No, top 10 in all three of them, in all three categories.
Did he put like a hit out on your family or something? Like, what is it? No. You caught a Russian hit there. Now
I'm just being unbiased. I'm being unbiased. And then the second best player on the Nuggets hasn't even played all season, and they're still playing like this with a group of guys under him, and he damn near has to average a triple-double on that team for them to win. He's averaging 27, 13, and 8 a game on that Nuggets team, who are barely a 7 seed.
Yeah, but the impact's that's like when we were talking about Russell Westbrook dropping triple-doubles every night and you're fighting for an 8 seed. I don't care that you average a triple-double when you're like barely a playoff team. That doesn't mean you're having the impact. Your triple-doubles aren't having the impact in the win-loss column that they otherwise should.
But how's that?
If you're averaging a triple-double, how are you not a top 2-3 seed? I don't give a fuck how many other superstars he's got.
But that same Nuggets team made it to the Western Conference Finals 2 years ago. What have the Sixers done? The Sixers have not made the Conference Finals under Brett Brown or Doc Rivers. And
I like Mark's comment underneath. Embiid takes Jokic's lunch money every time they play together. He's going to take his lunch money and mops the floor with him.
Yeah, but in the last game, he had, 40 and 14, but then Jokic had 33, 13, and 11 and beat him. You can't just blame it on everybody else.
Embiid dominated him and won the head-to-head matchup. You're talking about, if you're going to sit here and say he's the better player, Embiid won the head-to-head matchup. As Mike's saying, the only reason we lost that game is because the bench let you down, and then Bones Highland hit a crazy shot at the end to win it.
Now you're saying Jamal Murray went nuclear, yet Jokic averaged a triple-double in that playoff season, which he usually does. But it's like,
but Murray was they were a legit 1-2 super, they were both legit superstars that year. Murray had grown into a legitimate superstar when they made that run.
But it's like, why is it we blame everybody but Embiid? Embiid does good, but then there's things that in his game where he defensively he's not there too. There's a lot of holes on his team.
Defensively,
Joel Embiid is still one of the top 5 defensive and offensive players in not only in his position but in the NBA over the past 5 to 10 years.
He's like in defensive player of the year conversations.
I mean,
it comes to a point with me where it's like we're filling all these teams up with Embiid. We get Harden, we have Maxey, we had Simmons before that. We have all these players, yet we're blaming everybody else.
If anyone who was a defect, it was Simmons, and we've seen that, and he's still sitting there playing his boo-hoo, woe is me game.
Here's the reason why, Daniel. Because as I said with Jokic, you take everybody else off his team, you make Jokic carry the team, and they're still a 7 seed. We've seen Embiid literally carry this team on his back and make us a 2 seed, without anybody. Like people stink, and like we're a 2 seed because we've got Joel Embiid. Like we've seen Embiid impact the game in a way where it's like, we're a 2 seed. Like we were already a 2 seed without the James Harden trade. Now you get the James Harden trade, and like. What's changed? Nothing. You're still the same team, which is kind of ridiculous. How are we the same team after the James Harden trade that we were before?
I think they just relied too much on Embiid, and not in the sense that he's dominant. They just keep feeding the ball instead of shooting, and we need to rely less on him. Sometimes it's better to have him not do as well to wake everybody else up. I think this whole thing that everybody but him needs to step up. Like there's points where,
but Joe normally keeps you at either all-star to elite level on a week-to-week, day-to-day basis.
If I've got a dominant big man that is unstoppable with the ball in his hand the way he is, you feed him as much as you possibly can.
but what is it doing for the rest of the team when you're giving?
Okay, so like
okay, put it this way: it's just like Jordan in the '80s. Did it help that he was doing everything for the team? No, because no one else was getting involved in the game until you started getting people involved. When Jackson took over and he was like, okay, let's take the ball out of his hands and get everybody else involved, that they started winning, that they started actually winning championships. You were getting to the first or second round before that, but they kept on getting beat by teams that could game plan against it.
And part of that was Phil Jackson and the development of Scottie Pippen as a player and Horace Grant as a player and things like that. Now, yes, Michael taking a little bit of a lesser role, sure, but Michael still led the league in scoring, in those years that we're talking about when they won championships.
You're still trying to argue the fact that Joel Embiid is still not one of the best players, if not the best in the NBA.
I didn't say he wasn't one of the best. I said I think that Jokic is playing better, and that's why Jokic is going to win the MVP over him.
No, it's just because
Jokic is going to win the MVP because there's this weird fascination with these like Western Conference teams. I think it's because they're always on TV playing Phoenix and Golden State and LA at 10 o'clock at night. So people come home from work, everybody works late. They can watch the late night game after the kids go to sleep, and you just see a lot more of it. Yeah, Embiid might be on ESPN at 7 p.m., but a lot of people aren't watching ESPN at 7 p.m. when they've got kids and a family and shit. I don't really know if the exposure's there the way it is when you're playing on the West Coast. And
I don't think a team in Denver is getting more exposure than a team in Philadelphia. That's for
the Nuggets. Absolutely. I mean, the Nuggets. The Nuggets have always been. I mean, George Karl. They were so stable for so long. They really always have been one of those teams that's always on TV out there.
Let's not also
like in most sports, I'd agree. Like a market like that, no. But it seems like the NBA is weird. San Antonio, Denver, like those have always been teams. Phoenix, they're on TV constantly.
Let's not also forget that the media and the NBA itself has hated Joel Embiid since the process had all began. Let's not
maybe it's that they hated the process. I don't know if they hated Embiid, but the process and the view, the kind of like the public perception of that whole thing maybe has just not helped the long-term view of what Embiid is as a player. I don't know.
And don't get me wrong, I think Embiid's a better scorer, but rebounder, passer, just overall player, I think Jokic is better. Like he's having one of the best efficient seasons ever, not just this year, but ever. Like he's on pace to break that record because he does everything. I think there's an infatuation with Jokic because he was like a former fat, kid that look at the pictures of him like from 10 years ago when he was like 13. You're like, wait, this fat kid went on to become like one of the best players in the NBA? That's fucking gnarly. Holy shit, how'd that happen? And Embiid was a skinny dude that came out of nowhere. What's the difference? Like,
Embiid is the more conventional route, a skinny dude that came out of nowhere, but goes to college, right? Played a year at Kansas, so it's like they knew at Kansas he was going to be special. You've got you've got somebody in Jokic that was signed from overseas, right? So it's always when you're drafting a European player, it always seems to be like there's this different perception than if you're drafting a college player, sort of thing. There's an infatuation with European players to begin with. Let's be honest. Every time there's a big time European prospect,
I don't think him winning MVP is because of infatuation. He just has a better overall game. It's he's not going to score more points a game than Embiid because his game's a little bit differently. But he's going to rebound better. Last year,
because I said the difference last year was that Embiid had missed like 20-something games. You can't miss 22 games.
Yeah.
I don't care for rest purposes or what the purposes are. You can't miss 20 games and be an MVP, and Embiid did. So I agreed last year because Jokic played,
That's one of the arguments that me and Zach had last year.
But Embiid's playing a full season this year. It's not like Embiid's missing a ton of time. He's playing every single night.
Yeah, that's one of the things me and you argued about a lot last year was why.
Yeah, you remember that argument, Steven, right? Yeah, it's like, I can't give the MVP. We even brought up the Allen Iverson argument.
This year, there's nothing else but just an infatuation, whatever you may have it, It looks like in the public perception that Joel hasn't done enough to do it, and I don't see it. I don't have blinders on.
It's because he's not.
I've never been that Homer type person, but like that is
I think Embiid's the best big man we've seen since Shaq. Like, that's how good he is on like a nightly basis. That's how much he impacts and dominates a game. And I don't think that gets. And I think Shaq's even acknowledged that. Shaq called him out and said if he conditioned himself better, he could be just as good as I was. Like, Shaq literally called them out, and they were talking about that shit. Him and Charles Barkley talking about it on the TNT show. So I mean, I think the right people understand. Like, I think you got certain people in the national media that get it, and I don't think Jokic is like, that's not even close. What a ridiculous conversation. I think they're close to being, like they're both really, really close. You're talking about the two best big men in basketball. It's 1-2. Yeah. But I just think I think if you just use your eyes to watch how they're impacting a game, when you're watching a basketball game with your eyes, even when you see them go head to head and play each other, Embiid impacts the game more for me. He just does.
I disagree to a point, because when you look at both teams, who has a better team? Just in general, who has the better team? Of course, it's going to be the Sixers. Their lineup is way better.
The Nuggets probably have a better bench. The Nuggets probably have more depth. The Nuggets, top to bottom, with their roster, are probably better.
They might.
We have no bench. I mean, once you get outside our top five, I mean, bro, our bench is like they're going to give you a phone call tomorrow.
But of course, we can name our starting five, but we have 2, maybe 3 all-stars in our starting five. Sure. They have one. Just one.
But they can't play 48 minutes, and that's the thing where I bitch about Doc Rivers. This is where Doc needs to get ripped. You can't just take out all 5 starters at one time. Yeah, you've got 3 all-stars in your 5 out of your 5 starters. So leave a couple of them on the floor, take a guy out, let him get a breather, bring some bench players into the game. Now you still got all-stars on the floor. His rotations are fucking jacked, especially when you have no bench. It's one thing if you're deep. It's one thing if you're Phoenix or a team like that where you're like, you got dudes coming off the bench, they're 8 or 9 deep and shit. Like Cameron Payne or whatever the hell, the dude that played for Phoenix last year that was like their 9th or 10th dude that was making plays and getting buckets in the playoffs and shit. It's one thing when you're deep and shit like that and you've got that type of bench, but we really don't. You can't sit here and just jack up your rotation and say, okay, Embiid, Harden, or, you're both going to sit on the bench at the same time. And then they do. And then Maxi's out there trying to run the floor with it's not even like we've got like dudes that are old. I mean, we've got dudes like the corpses of like some of these. Like, that's the corpse of DeAndre Jordan out there. That ain't even DeAndre Jordan. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just so ridiculous. You got dudes that are like you're not even in NBA shape. You shouldn't be on an NBA roster. You're that bad right now, but it's what you got to deal with when you trade all of your depth away to bring in Harden, which I still would have done the deal. We talked about it then, Daniel. Still would have done the deal.
I would have too, yeah.
This is something that you had to be prepared for when you made that deal happen, that the idea that guys like Seth Curry and the depth that you're giving up here, how it's going to hurt your team, big picture for the rest of the year. They didn't seem to make any adjustments with that. You can't just bank on guys like DeAndre Jordan to go in and go in there and dominate, or go in there and make you got to treat these guys as the role players that they are, and get them on the floor. At times when you still have a guy in Harden, Maxey, Embiid, whoever, I know that's what my offense is going through, and I can get you out there. Tobias Harris can't be the best player on the floor for me. When I've got DeAndre Jordan and B-ball Paul, or whoever the fuck else we want to fucking sit there and say is out there. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like some of the stuff Doc's doing, and that's why it's like, I don't want to sit here. Oh, well, Embiid, fuck Embiid, and even Harden. Like, Harden deserves some of the blame, but for Doc to come out and throw Harden under the bus the way he did the other night is ridiculous. Like, I might have fired you. Like, you're not even on the bus back to the team facilities. Sam Cassell can coach the rest of the year and into the playoffs. Did you just throw him? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? First of all, like throw yourself under the bus, Doc. I mean, I'm okay with you being like, James needed to play better, but my decision here, and here was fucking awful, and I've sucked ass over the past month, and this needs to, I need to get better I need to improve just as much as anybody else on this team needs to improve at this moment. But no, instead he's over here comparing himself to Greg Popovich and demanding respect that he doesn't fucking deserve, which is pissing me off. To be honest, that's why I'm kind of done with it. I don't really care. Win me a championship, or there's the door. Like, I really don't need to deal with it anymore. Could have kept Brett Brown if I wanted to underachieve.
I mean, like I said, I think that this team's good enough despite him. It's just about being able to prove that every night. You know, the beauty part about the playoffs is you just got to be the first team to win either 3 or 4. That's it. Don't have to be perfect every night.
But depth is going to play a huge role in that, and your bench rotations are going to play a huge role in that. And we suck in both of those areas. I mean, do you think Sam Cassell could rotate minutes better than what Doc is?
I mean, listen, anybody could be doing it better than Doc right now. Obviously, it's something that we've been talking about for a while now, and I think it's probably been the bane of his coaching existence, if memory serves me. But you have to
correct too, where he doesn't want to accept the flaws.
Yeah, and that's where I was about to go right back to it. It goes to right. not being able to not just accept criticism, but accept that maybe you're actually bad at something, and you should have somebody take that aspect of either coaching or the basketball game away from yourself, just for the betterment of your not just yourself but the team itself.
I mean, he gets mad at questions, about like, oh, what could you have done differently from a coaching perspective? I don't know. Would you have asked Greg Popovich that question? Yeah, I probably would have asked every coach that question, to be honest. You're the coach. Hey, what could you have done differently from a coaching perspective to have made this not be a thing? Like, it's like, it's almost ridiculous, his response. I get it. Frustrating to go out there and lose games that you shouldn't lose, and maybe that's part of it too. But at some point, I need to see adjustments. I need to see that it'd be like, I'd rather you come out publicly and be like, listen, it's not good enough. Top to bottom,
I'll say it like this too.
Players, it's just not good enough, and it needs to improve. It needs to get better. Like that's a better answer to these things than getting deflective and getting defensive and acting soft and acting like your ego's in the way. Like none of those things help you. We've heard Popovich sit there when they've asked him, hey, what could coaching do differently? He'd be like, nothing. He's like, sometimes as a player, you just got to go out there and want to have it. You just want it more than the other guy on the other side of the court. We didn't want to go out there and the effort wasn't there tonight. And when the effort's not there, this is what happens. You're going to lose basketball games. So effort's got to be better next time. That's really the bottom line. Like, oh, okay, there's an answer. There's like, boom. Like that was, he didn't seem hurt. His feelings weren't hurt because you asked him that question. It's boom to the point. This is how I feel about it. Great. I see a dude that's just, when Doc Rivers seems defeated almost, like it's almost like he can start, like he can feel the pressure. He knows his job's on the line. And it's like, when you ask him a question, I don't know. Can I at least get the respect that Pop will get? Would you ask him that question?
What
kind of answer is that? How defensive are you? Like, what? Good Lord, what is going on right now?
And one thing that cures all this is winning. So if he gets to the Eastern Conference Finals, I think that will save his job. But I feel like he has to have a really good performance. And if you don't get past the second round, to me, it's like 100%. You might as well just go to Sam Cassell afterwards, because what good are you when you were supposed to be the piece that we're missing to get us over the second round hump with the Brett Brown, those 3 years that we couldn't get out of the second round. And then you come in and you can't even do it yourself. So it's like, if you can't get past that this year in your second year, then you're more than likely not going to get past the second round next year. And we're wasting even more time of Joel Embiid's career. So we might as well, after this year, move on if we can't get to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Is there a college coach outside of Jay Wright any of y'all would be interested in and say, yeah, like this guy, like, is there anybody? John Calipari, I know I ripped him last week. I don't think he's an X's and O's guy, but I think that's more of a college thing because I think his focus is on recruiting. I think we've seen him coach at the NBA level successfully. Matter of fact, he was on the Sixers staff years and years ago under Larry Brown, and there was times that he'd coach games. Larry got ejected a couple times, and Calipari ended up being the head coach during those times. He's got the Maxey connection, obviously. I think Calipari's shown he's a guy that'll always listen. You can always knock on his door, right? Like he's always open to the idea of greener pastures on the other side, sort of thing. Maybe he's a guy that comes into the NBA and all of a sudden, when your focus is on having the coach and actually having to get the most out of your talent, as opposed to just let me go and recruit as many high school All-Americans as I can, knowing that they're going to be one and done, sort of thing. I don't know. I think I'd be intrigued to any of this. I'd be open to any of it. I think my favorite assistant in basketball is the female assistant whose name I've always remembered, and now her name is slipping my mind. But Popovich's female assistant in San Antonio, that just took the WNBA job for San Antonio.
Something Ham. I forget her first name.
Something.
I know
I always fucking
Ham,
have it. Yeah. I always fucking have it, and now I can't remember it. But yeah, her name was talked about as an NBA head coaching candidate last year, and I think part of the reason she took the WNBA job was to kind of prove, hey, I can be a head coach. Now, once you've shown you can be a head coach, a lot more people are willing to give you a chance at any level, sort of thing. I still think that maybe the Spurs would like to like to transition right into her after Popovich retires, so she might never listen to the idea of taking any other job. But I'm kicking, I'm knocking on the door of any of these top coaching candidates and seeing what they have to say. And that in college, NBA, all of it.
In college, the top big names, of course, is Calipari.
I
think he stays in college. Bill Self, he's been in Kansas. I don't think he leaves. I don't think.
No, he's got a lifetime contract in Kansas.
Yeah.
He's already made. He ain't going nowhere. They're going to name that court after him.
The next big name I see is Eric Musselman, but he didn't cut in the NBA. He seems like he's more cut out for college. He's in Arkansas now, building up another college program. This is going to be his third program that he's built up to being a good college team. But I think he sticks better in college. Mark Few and Gonzaga, he's a big name there.
Yeah,
but I see him.
He would never leave that area of the country. I would say 100% yes to Mark Jackson.
Yeah. Never got a chance to finish out that Warriors team once they developed. Well, I think he did good there, but then I think Steve Kerr made the team better. He made the team jump from this to one of the NBA favorites every year was Steve Kerr style play, and then he brought in guys afterwards Green and whatnot that fit that team dynamic.
That was just an example of, not that Mark Jackson was a bad coach. It couldn't be a coach that got him over the hump, but it's almost like that had run its course.
Yeah.
All right. It was what it was. They thought it couldn't go any further, and they just felt like Steve was the right move at the time.
As we're getting ready to just about switch it up from basketball to football, what is the one thing that surprised you so far about the season? If you're looking at how it's laying out, the playoff picture, etc. Who's the team that surprised you, with their performance this year?
Cleveland's been a pleasant surprise with how good they've been at different points throughout the year. Very young team, but finally has something. There's some substance there, some young superstars. Very, very big fan of their coach. I think he's a guy that is in a great situation after, being a young head coach in the league and kind of going through growing pains the first time around. And now you get a second chance to figure things out. His father was an NBA head coach for a long time. So
yeah,
I think Cleveland, when you look at how they've come together as a young team, has really been, you're like, okay, hey, there's something there. They're building something. That they're a piece or two away.
And Sexton's missed a lot of the season. He had a good start to the season. He goes down, and then that kind of allowed Garland to kind of rise up. And
they have Mobley still as well.
He's a stud right there. He came
in. Mark says his pick for that is the Memphis Grizzlies.
The Grizzlies. I mean, I don't know if I'm surprised because I think I'm like, we all knew if John Morant can become that full blown superstar, Memphis can be good. But I don't know if any of us is John Morant ready for that yet? Yeah, he's more than ready. Yeah. He's more than ready, sure.
I think getting Steven Adams and training Feliciano's has been a big deal for that team because I feel like they're playing a lot better along the paint. And then just like you said there, it allowed guys like Brooks, Melton, Triple J to pick their game up. And Morant's playing
that's a team that can make a run in the playoffs, Daniel. Yeah. You want a team to be worried about a team, they came out of nowhere. No, not really. The Western Conference just has a lot of really good teams, but they've got depth. Memphis has got depth, and that's something that really plays in the playoffs.
Does LeBron save face and get into the buy-in or no?
And I mean, and me and you talked about this last year, Steven. I mean, I was all over this. We talked about it on the air. People were calling me crazy. Yeah. I knew this was going to be an absolute disaster on their end, with Westbrook being old and just being a guy that's not an offensively efficient player, and he has to play with the ball in his hands constantly. LeBron is a guy that is very, ball dominant, just like Westbrook, and his offensive efficiency seems to be dropping every year as well. Anthony Davis is always hurt and banged up, and you're like, that's the point of that.
Even though they won the championship that one year, that's always been my biggest gripe with Anthony Davis is he always gets hurt. The one year that he stayed healthy prominently, they won in the bubble. But for the most part, he's missed almost a half a season almost every year, and he's one of the biggest what-if players because he's so dominant when he's healthy. But it's like that team's built around Anthony Davis. LeBron is the man, but he came in there thinking that he was going to kind of play second fiddle. He was able to kind of dial his game down, let Davis do his thing, and he can play as a second guy. But he's had to play the number one guy, and then Davis has been out, so it kind of messed up that team per se because it was kind of built around Anthony Davis and his skill sets. So that's why they're playing so bad. And then a 38-year-old LeBron, I believe it is, he's not going to be able to play at this high level every game, no matter how good he is for the whole season.
LA's biggest problem is though that their two best bench players or their two best role players are Wayne Ellington and some undrafted kid from Oklahoma State, Reeves, whatever the hell that kid's name is, Ryan Reeves or whatever. No, it's not Big Country Bryant Reeves' kid, Greg Milekovich, as Greg tried to. It's Big Country Bryant Reeves' kid. No, it's not, Greg. I don't know where you get your information, but stop spreading it.
But how about
spreading the false information on A2D.
How about this team, the Minnesota Timberwolves? Right now, they're sitting.
They've been. I don't know if they've been a surprise. I mean, they're a playoff team, right around 500. I mean, we know Karl Anthony Towns is really good.
10 games over.
Are they now?
Yeah.
All right, so I'll give them some credit for where they were at.
They are 44-34. Yeah, they're the 7th seed right now.
Have they been like pretty hot over the past few weeks?
They are right now. They're 6-4 in the last 10, but I can look. 3, 4. They've been. I think they've only lost 4 or 5 times in the past month. Actually, 6 times. But they've
times
been
in the past month.
Yeah, from what I see. But they've been playing well. You got D'Angelo Russell there. You got Karl Anthony Towns.
The development of Towns has probably been the biggest thing. I mean, the dude just won the 3-point contest, for God's sakes. Like, this dude's a legit pimp. He turned into a guy that's got a complete game all of a sudden.
You got Anthony Edwards, Malik Beasley. You got all these first-round picks that are actually paying off for them now. And then they bring in, of course, like I said, Russell. And they're finally gelling at the right time. They got a good coach there. The players are staying healthy. Karl Anthony Towns, his knock was staying healthy too, but he's been relatively healthy this year playing. I'm not saying they're a top 5 team. I'm just saying that they've surprised me because they haven't been a playoff team consistently for the longest time. I think they made one playoff appearance as an 8th seed in the past 20 years or so, and they're playing better than that team has been. And with all that talent there, they can turn into a better team if they keep consistently playing like this into next season.
Yeah, a team that, they're not like, it's not like they're a playoff team, but I will say over the past month or so, you've seen them like really play a lot better basketball. And they're a team that I honestly thought was going to be so god awful that you're just like, this is going to be so embarrassing. Like, the Pistons have been one of those teams, as somebody that bets on sports at a very degenerate level. The Pistons have covered the spread like on a very consistent basis over the past month or so. Whenever they're underdogs, like if they're +6, they'll find a way to lose the game by 3 or 4, or they'll beat somebody outright like they did the Sixers, the other night. They've got a good young superstar there, obviously, in Cade Cunningham, who is really starting to grow into a guy who, looks like he could be not just a great player, but one of the best players in the league, one of the most explosive scorers, just a guy that's really, really exciting to watch and something that Detroit hasn't had in a long time. Mark is 100% right. Cade in 2 years. Yeah, I mean, you're going to be talking about it's going to be like the John Moran effect on Detroit. Like that's what he's going to be. He's going to be that good of a player, and the attention that's going to come with it, all that. Like he seems to have the some guys play at a superstar level. Other guys also have like that superstar charisma about them, and he seems to be that type of guy. John Morant's a guy that has that superstar charisma that follows him around. Great for an organization like Memphis, who hasn't, it's kind of like the Memphis. Nobody really pays attention to him. Well, when you've got John Morant, it's hard to not pay attention to you all of a sudden. There's just a charisma there about him that attracts eyeballs. So I think there's some teams like that I've looked at and said, they're better than I thought they were going to be. That maybe deserve some credit. That otherwise, we probably wouldn't be talking about.
I think another team too that's outplaying themselves is Toronto. Toronto started off god awful, then they've been hot the last 2 months since and they're getting relatively healthy. They'll still, I think,
Fred VanVleet has turned into a pretty good player for them.
You get rid of Kyle Lowry, and then VanVleet has stepped up into that role. Of course, Pascal Siakam's still there. You draft Scotty Barnes. He's been a big deal for that team. They have OG Agabe. He's come back from injury. They got a pretty good squad there.
And obviously, the development of Pascal Siakam, into the player that he's become is just, that's special stuff. He was in the same draft class as Ben Simmons. And really, if you look at it, he might be the best player from that draft class. That dude has become an absolute monster on both sides of the floor. I think he impacts the game for his team more than anybody from that draft class at the moment. Who's been a pleasant surprise, because again, I thought they were going to stink, and they've really played good ball down the stretches. The Pelicans. I mean, New Orleans. We love to rip the New Orleans Pelicans. But Brandon Ingram, they're a team that's been right there in the playoff picture the entire year.
Well, look who they traded for. A month and a half ago? CJ McCollum. They traded for him. He's been McCollum. He's been killing it.
Him and Ingram play well together, and it's all you're like, you go look at the standings. You're like, damn, the Pelicans are that good. I didn't know the Pelicans are that good. Good for them. Holy shit, didn't know that was gonna. That's surprising. They're gonna be bad before the year, type of thing.
And right now they're in that 9 seed, so they're in the playing game, and they've gotten hot when it matters. They're 7-3 in the last 10 games, which is what you want. You're getting, just like you said, they're getting good ball from Ingram, McCollum, and then even Luciones, who they trade for. He's been a very solid center for them. They're getting a little bit of everything.
He's been a really good piece. He's a really solid player.
Yeah,
always has been. He was drafted by Toronto back in the Anthony Davis year. No, the year before the Anthony Davis year.
And just imagine they're doing all this without Zion Williamson. He hasn't even been playing.
Which is why we sit here and it's so easy to make fun of New Orleans, because you got Zion, who's fat and out of shape, and you got Charles Barkley over here making jokes, saying that he looks like if me and Shaq had a baby. Like when Charles Barkley and Shaq are making jokes about your weight, things are kind of gotten out of hand. Let's be honest. If anything should be a wake-up call, it's when those two start making fat jokes about you.
But with how they're playing right now, I could see them wind up like just trading him if things don't get any better with that relationship. They could trade him off. You got a good core right now. They're playing hot now. Even if they don't make the playoffs, say they get hot, but then they lose in the.
I'll give them Tobias Harris.
Yeah. Even if they lose in the playing games, this is a good sign for them for next year with the core players where they're playing this good. And whereas next year, if they play the same way, instead of being this 9 seed, they could be like a 4, 5, 6 seed because of what they have production wise from Ingram, Luciones, and McCollum. You got 2 guys that can score in Ingram and McCollum that could go down there, shoot from 3, shoot from mid range, get in the paint. That's something that could be a surprise team next year. If you want to look at teams that could make the next step, I think they're a team that could do it because they also have a bench as well.
I'll give him Tobias Harris, B-Ball Paul, and Shake Milton for Zion Williamson.
Where you gonna play Williamson?
Wherever I need to, off the bench, in my starting rotation, wherever.
You gonna stick him in Dunkin' Donuts?
I might. He might be able to be my beer vendor or something.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I tell you what, it's worth getting rid of Tobias Harris's shitty contract and bringing a young kid like that who maybe, maybe, if he follows Joel Embiid around enough, could turn into like, oh, okay, this is how you do this. And Joel Embiid could teach him how to be a little bit of a fat ass while still being able to be a dominant player, which is something that I think he might like. He'd be like, oh, okay, I don't have to. You mean I can be like I can still be a little bit of a fat ass and still dominate? Okay, now I'm listening. How many cheeseburgers do I get to eat? Oh, this is awesome. Oh, okay, cool. Like I was tired of them in New Orleans telling me I had to eat salad and shit so I could lose weight and get back in shape. You're telling me that I don't have to do that? Follow this guy around.
Looks like we have a comment in the chat that's going back to our poll question, right?
Yeah.
So let me quick throw the poll question back up here and get to this comment. Right. So
yes, Duke and North Carolina live. So Duke will win the national title. What does he think?
So Joe saying this game is giving him vibes that both teams are going to be wiped, and whoever wins this game is going to get rolled by Kansas.
If Duke ends up going to the national championship game, Duke's winning. There's no way. I promise you, every 50-50 ball, every close call, every slight contact, you can guarantee that every whistle, every borderline, anything is going in favor of Duke if they get to the national title game. Because it's such a Cinderella storybook ending to Coach K's career. It's just so good for the sport, for the ratings, for the marketing, for the money, everything. Come on. That storybook ending writes itself.
Right now, we got an update in 17-16.
It is. No, 19-16. Duke just made another basket.
Okay, yeah, you're a little bit ahead of me, but
I'm at 9 minutes even.
Okay. But
here's the big part in this game is Duke has got 16 points in the paint so far. North Carolina has just 2. So
from what I see, North Carolina is shooting pretty decent from 3.
They can shoot, but they're really struggling to get inside, and Duke is having their way.
So that's something to keep an eye on for this, because if you can get going in the paint, it's you're working better. Even though UNC's been able to stay in it with the 3-point shot, it's kind of alarming when you can't go inside and score like Duke is. Duke can get the easy baskets, and you're kind of relegated right now to getting these harder ones. Now
watch this segue.
Yeah.
Watch this segue, right? Because we all know Coach K is retiring after this year. And speaking of retiring, Bruce Arians decided that he wants to go sit on a rocking chair on his front porch, I guess, and that he's done coaching football. That's what people do when they're retired, right? I think it's something like that. You go, hoe your garden or rocking your rocking chair, or maybe a little bit of both. Yes, I did just sneak hoe in on the air and get away with saying it and putting it in perfect context so that we can't get yelled at. So high five on that one. As the late night entertainment continues here on A2D Radio. But your thoughts of Bruce Arians retiring, stepping down, Todd Bowles named the interim, or named, I guess, the head coach. I won't even say interim, because I guess he's just the head coach at the moment.
They fully moved him up, and then they made Larry Foote as a co-defensive coordinator. They moved him up to Bowles' spot, a former player, of course, on the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Him and Arians go way back. Played at Temple under Arians, coached under Arians, in Arizona, and then here in Tampa. Yeah. So you got to think that was part of the handshake agreement. If I'm stepping down, Todd gets named the head coach. But what a weird dynamic when you've got a guy in Byron Leftwich also in the building, who's also been wait, didn't I just go for head coaching interviews this offseason? Todd, where were your interviews? I'm sorry. Pretty sure I had more. Let's compare them. Who's had more head coaching interviews over the past 2 years?
I had a feeling that this had probably in place a while ago. They just probably made this final, because I'm not surprised he retired because of all the health issues. So like he just coached
he wanted to retire forever. I mean, he's been talking about it.
Yeah, he just coached this past year with that machine on him for half the last season and playoffs where his health was a big issue. You had the whole
I mean that's where I'm at. I think his health was probably the mitigating factor here to the abruptness of this. Him stepping down as head coach, going into the front office while still
as a consultant.
Still being involved in the team operations, things of that nature.
Do you guys remember when he left the Steelers, when he ended up taking the offensive coordinator job in Indianapolis, when Chuck Pagano got named head coach and Andrew Luck was just drafted to be quarterback? He was going to retire from coaching. Like I remember there being some sort of documentary at that point. I remember hearing his wife talk about it. They were ready to retire from coaching and go move to Florida, and they had this whole beach house they were planning on living in and everything. And him and Chuck Pagano were really, really good friends. And when Pagano got hired by Indy to be the head coach, he called Arians, and Arians said, of course I've got to do it, because of their relationship. And then Arians became the coach there when Pagano obviously went through his cancer battle and all that, and that led to Arians getting the head coaching job in Arizona. So, I mean, you just kind of ride the wave of momentum there, and now you're a Super Bowl champion head coach. Good for you. Way to stick around and improve your legacy. But when you just want to talk about being ready to retire, and obviously retirement's one of those things you got to be ready to do, it seems like he was ready to retire a decade ago, or close to it sort of thing. Like, it seems like this is something that's been in the works for a long time with him and his wife, and it's just finally perfect timing. Let's pull the trigger. You make it happen now. I wonder the Tom Brady situation, if that, what type of effect is this having on all that? Did Brady coming back have an effect on it? Is it going to have an effect on Brady and all the rumors that we're talking about? We've heard rumors about him being traded to the Dolphins and different things. There's just a lot of everything going on right now with the Tom Brady situation and what will happen with him in Tampa, if we'll be in Tampa or what the deal is. And then it was a really weird retirement. Steven, you were gone. You were absent longer from this show. You had retired from the weekly roundup for longer than Tom Brady was officially retired from the NFL. 41 days. You know what happened? Me and Daniel, I was making this joke with a lot of people, Steven, you too. Like, we were talking about it off the air and laughing about it. It's amazing what happens when you try to go home and deal with your kids for like a consistent amount of time. You're like, oh my God, this is what it's like to be a stay-at-home dad? Oh my God, no, please, fuck no. Get me back and I need to go play football. Oh, fuck. This is no. Can't have any of this. Can't have any of this.
I don't think it was being around his family, so to speak.
I think it might have. Let's be honest.
No, what I think what happened was is like when the season ends, you're always like especially when you're Tom's age, you're always gonna have the question that everyone's asking you, and I kind of felt like he had that knee-jerk reaction, be like, you know what? Yeah, I'm done. I don't want to deal with these questions. I don't want to deal with you. Yeah, I'm retired. I'm done. Leave me alone.
Well, there was also all the talk about the Bucs not going to have any cap space, so they're going to have to blow up the whole roster, get rid of all these guys that, it's like, they were trying to run it back and make one more run at it, and it didn't happen. So now Brady sees the writing on the wall and knows this team isn't going to be a championship team next year. It's just not going to have the same roster. And if you're Tom Brady, you're not going to stick around to play quarterback at 45 years old for a team that's going to win, 8 or 9 games. Like, you're just not going to do it. So fuck that. He's going to find himself in a situation that either he's in a Super Bowl, championship contender situation, or he ain't going to play football. I think that's where he's at in his career at this point. And when you're Tom Brady, you can make it happen. If you're like, I don't want to play for you, trade me. They'll trade you. It's just the way it goes. Like, that's the way that's all going to happen because it's just, the nature of the business. So if he wants out of Tampa, he'll find his way out of Tampa, and he'll find his way to whatever destination he might, want to end up in. Maybe this whole thing waits and takes place after the draft, and then you get the training camp and you see how things play out. You know how desperate teams get for a quarterback once they realize that their quarterback situation sucks. You're like, oh shit, we thought it was going to be better than this. Oh fuck, damn it. Yeah, the Vikings, they panicked and traded how many first round picks for Sam Bradford that year, and we fleeced the shit out of them. So, and it's not like you're like, oh damn, we had to give up a first round pick for Tom Brady. No, like, you're going to do all that. If you're a team that thinks he's the difference between you winning a Super Bowl or not, you'll probably trade. You'll make a trade like the Rams made to bring in Stafford at this point. I mean, that's just where the league's at. So,
I bet his wife was like, Tom, take out the trash, and he was like, fuck this.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Exactly. Or something like, Tom, like, you got to do this with the kids. Or Tom, can't the nanny do it? Why are we paying a nanny? Aren't we paying a nanny? Why fired her? We don't pay her no more now that you're retired. We don't need a nanny. Oh, fuck that. I can't fucking do this on my own. My fucking head's about to explode. Got to take care of my wife and the kids. Holy shit. What the fuck is going on here?
But it's crazy.
He's
Right
just used to
before he
paying people to
retired,
take care of the situation.
you hit a good point. It was crazy. Like right before he retired, there's talks about all these contract situations that we have to deal with Tom Brady coming back. How are we going to resign everybody? He retires. They then bring back Godwin. They bring in Russell Gage. They bring back Fournette. They bring back Gio Bernard. They bring in more help on the defense.
Now,
and then
we're beating everything down on this retirement. There was another retirement. Arguably, one of the better free agent signings over the last 10 years for this organization. Malcolm Jenkins obviously won a Super Bowl here, won a Super Bowl with the Saints, went back to the Saints after his time here. Finally hung it up. What do you think hit? What were your initial thoughts when he was signed here, and what do you think his overall impact was during his time here in Philadelphia? I'll start with Zach and then go to Daniel. Go ahead, guys.
Oh, you can look at it in a couple of different ways because his impact he had a big impact in a couple of different ways. Obviously, I mean, he was important on the field and as a leader for that Super Bowl team. But he was kind of the guy for our organization that was very unafraid and unapologetic to be the guy that stood up to want to make his stance on all the social issues that he felt were important to make a stance about at that time. And I've always said about it, it ain't about what I think of it. It ain't about what you think of it. It's not about what any of us think about it. I want a player like that with that type of impact because he's Malcolm Jenkins, right? He has the respect in the locker room. He's got the respect around the league. He was a leader at that time that had an impact, off the field and with the NFL and how big of a movement that was all going on at the time. So depending on who you are, there's a lot of people that loved, the social movement of everything that was going on and what they did. And he's going to have an impact with that too. But as far as on the field for the championship for the Super Bowl team, it doesn't happen without him.
He felt whatever needed to be spoken about, like in the city, not just social issues or whatever. Anything that he felt needed to be corrected, he would speak out on. He was the defensive leader of that team for quite a few years. Obviously defensive captains float around and things of that nature.
You got to have a guy that's unafraid of the backlash or whatever that might come from his words, if he feels, or his actions, if he feels that's what needs to be said or needs to be done in that moment and at that time. And Jenkins was always that guy. And in a city like Philly, in a market like this, that's not always easy. And he's a guy that had took that head on and said, go ahead, I don't care. Whatever, like the criticisms, the reactions, whatever might come of it. If he had to say something about a player, about a situation when it came to the Carson Wentz thing or, whatever it might be, he was a guy that you knew his words. It's like, okay, hey, agree or disagree. I know that he felt like this needed to be said at that time, and that's why he said it and did it. And every championship team needs a guy like that. And I know there was plenty of people in this fan base like, I can't stand the fact that he's saying everything. He should just shut up and play football. No, fuck you. You know what? You should just shut up and watch football. How about that? Like every championship team needs to have, and this is in any sport, you need to have that guy that's kind of unafraid to it is what it is. Let's take, address the media's questions head on when we're struggling, address the media's questions when it comes to the player type things, whatever, you need to have a guy that's like, yeah, I've got this. Don't worry about it. None of y'all, I'll answer these questions. Don't, and they'll leave you alone. And he was that guy for us. I guess you could say Dawkins was that guy for us during the Andy Reid time. When you had a lot of shit that would go on where, between Donovan and T.O. and, whatever other situations might have popped up during that time.
That guy was the defensive leader of that team, but he was also the spiritual leader was Dawkins. Yeah. But let's not go
what I mean? And Jenkins, Jenkins was never, ever going to be, ever able to be at Dawkins level in this city or in general, because you're talking about a guy that's a Hall of Famer in Brian Dawkins. But, I mean, he, for all intents and purposes, for that Super Bowl team in 2017, he kind of fit that emotional leader role that Brian Dawkins was for us for all those years he stepped in and played a very similar role. He was, I don't want to call him a poor man's Brian Dawkins because that's unfair to Malcolm Jenkins too.
I think he
was in that Dawkins mold. Go ahead, Daniel.
I think coming in, we have to remember he had won a championship and he was a big part of that Saints defensive team on there. He was coming into his own at that time. We were able to bring him in on a really good bargain deal. I think it was like a 2-year deal, and it was a good bargain. So we didn't pay that much for him, and he exceeded the expectations of what we thought he was going to do. He was coming in here. We thought he was going to be solid. He did more than play solid. He played Pro Bowl caliber level for a couple of years. He was the guy on the team on the defense. He was the captain per se on that side. He always was outspoken when we needed to. He took the city for what it was. He wasn't afraid, and then he helped that defense outplay. And he was a type of guy where he could come inside the box because we've always had like subpar linebacker play, and he was basically an extra linebacker for us for a lot of the time. And he filled the role nicely. He helped us win, and just winning was worth the contract. But he did more than that. It was just winning. It was in the environment. He did more than everything. So he outplayed what the contract was, and he did more for the team than we expected.
I think what Zach was saying, like he was not a poor man's Brian Dawkins, but somebody in that mold, just somebody that did things on and off the field that spoke on things that maybe not everyone wish was spoken about, but would force people to think about those uncomfortable conversations, regardless if it was involving race or if it was involving something that would happen in this tri-state community. They would always find these things to make you be admired by Brian or Malcolm as the man, not just as a Philadelphia Eagle, not just as a professional football player. They force those things on, and I think that's why guys like that will be long remembered here, regardless of the Super Bowl. Brian doesn't have one, and he's arguably the godfather of that era of Philadelphia Eagles football.
Brian's got one now because he was on that staff or in the front office or whatever. So at least he found a way to get one, right? I'll tell you what, Malcolm Jenkins' legacy should be much better than anything Derek Barnett's remembered for in this city. And I cannot believe we just gave this dude another 2-year contract.
And I'm glad you brought up Derek, because that gives us a chance to kind of phase into some other things. I want to give your guys thoughts on it. Our I guess mid off season report on what you guys feel that the Eagles have done. Me before, obviously it's been a little bit between the three of us, but me and Zach had conversations, going into the end of the season, what we had in mind for free agency, not trades, not the draft, just what free agency needed to bring into us. Again, starting with Zach, going down to Daniel. You're I guess a little early free agent grade for Mr. Howie Roseman, Zach.
Well, the Honey Badger would have been, I think, maybe my number one.
But it's still a possibility. So it's still a possibility.
I mean, that guy, you want to talk about, the energy again. We just talked about a guy, Malcolm Jenkins. I mean, you're bringing in a guy, in the Honey Badger that he's making plays all over the football field, right? I know he plays safety, but what I love about him is he's one of those guys that kind of, in today's NFL, we talked about this with Allen last week in the NBA, and, sports are getting to the point where you've got to be versatile enough where, like, in some ways, he's a positionless football player, right? He can go cover somebody as a corner. He can play safety and hit you. He can ball hawk over the top. He can get into the box and stop the run. Tyrann Mathieu is a phenomenal football player and somebody that would improve this defense. Yeah, it'd make us twice the defense we were a year ago. I mean, he's that good.
All right, let's not dwell on coulda. Let's talk about what's done and pros, cons. What are you feeling so far?
Yeah.
I think it was.
What move has been made that I should get excited about? Am I missing something? Have I forgot about a significant move?
So fixing what we felt we begged them to fix the linebacker core.
I think signing the kid from the Chargers. I mean, it's a good signing. Sure.
Kyle, they still have T.J. Edwards. Me and you are still love Davion Taylor's.
I love Davion Taylor. I think Davion Taylor could turn into one of the better sideline to sideline linebackers.
Now, if you're looking at it from the outside, looking in, what do you feel better about this defense? Obviously we're still going to add some pieces, through draft and post draft free agency, picking up.
We need an edge rusher. I need an edge rusher. I need a dominant edge defender. I need a dominant edge defender.
I would say
we did bring in Hassan Reddick.
I love Hassan.
The Reddick acquisition's a good one. That's a good one, Daniel. The Hassan Reddick acquisition's a really good one.
They got him. We got to see what we get out of Brandon Graham if we could get anything out of him this year.
Hopefully Hassan Reddick is taking Brandon Graham's minutes. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to see what Reddick's going to do like in this system because obviously, he's not your he's not a 3-4. He's not a 4-3. There's a little bit of a hybrid there with him, but he fits a role in Gannon's. From what I've been reading, he's going to fit a role in Gannon's defense and what Gannon wants to do. He's going to fit it perfectly. Who was the linebacker or whatever, the one edge player for Indianapolis that they're comparing him to? Because they're saying he's going to be that role for Gannon now here in Philly. It's similar to the edge player that he had when he was coaching in Indy. Good player, and I can't the name slip in my mind again. But if Reddick can be that type of player for us, as in Gannon's defensive scheme, it's a great acquisition. And then he's a local kid who he's going to embrace the idea that he gets to play, in front of friends and family every Sunday. So you can't ever knock that. He's going to love the idea of playing in his hometown. That's a good signing, Daniel. I don't know. I need more. I need the Honey Badger. I need Allen Robinson. I need something.
Well, Robinson, of course, is on the Rams.
Did Robinson sign with the Raiders?
Yeah.
Well, there goes that idea. I thought Robinson. Oh, so he signed somewhere.
He signed with the Rams. Honey Badger hasn't been signed yet, so that could be a possibility. I like, though, like we were just saying, I like Reddick just because he can play opposite of Sweat because, of course, Josh Sweat needs somebody on the opposite side of him because he played good last year, and we need somebody on the opposite side. I did like how we got rid of Cox, but then we bring him back on like a better deal. So that's just keep him here for his last year.
I still like to trade him.
I think they tried to, but I think it was going to be hard to do that without taking on some of his contract. And we didn't want to do that.
I like Reddick. I like the fact that they addressed the linebacker. Now we absolutely know that they're not going to do it in the draft. I still like to see them find someone else to pair Darius Slay. I still think you need to address one, if not both of the safety positions in some way, shape, or form. Obviously, they were in on trying to go get a wide receiver as that they were in on Calvin Ridley before the nonsense freaking suspension. So I obviously we that we know that they're trying to do those things. Me and Zach have talked about this a lot. I don't think that the front office is any way, shape, or form sold on Miles Sanders. The fact that you do what you do with Boston Scott and things of that nature in this offseason, I think proves that. I still don't think fans should be surprised if he's in trade talks and or traded sometime during the first 2 days of the draft. Do not be surprised.
I just think they like the options at running back where you have 2 or 3 options. It's not a running back system anymore.
But it's almost like he's become the third option, Daniel. Like it's almost like at times Miles Sanders has become the third option almost. It's just so weird. There's something about him that they don't like as an organization. I don't know. I
think it's staying healthy. He needs.
I think that's a huge thing. Obviously, sure. I don't think his pass protection is as good as they'd like it to be, and
I mean, I think when you look at this team, like Miles is a guy that they like inside of a system. Miles looks at himself as the guy on a running back team.
And he wasn't
But when
their
you look
guy.
at the way that the Eagles go about it, especially with Jalen and everything like that, he's never going to be the guy that gets the number of carries that he needs to perform the way he needs to perform. He's the guy that needs X amount. If he's under 10 carries, he's not going to perform the way that he feel that he should be used and dealt with. That's different. We need the way we run this system is we need a guy that can carry it in anywhere between one to 7 times a game, and they can make the best out of those carries, regardless if it's quarterback runs, regardless if it's in your running backs. We're gonna do it by committee. It's never going to be one guy, getting 25, 30 carries. I don't think this team will ever have a guy like that with this system to do that. Do we all agree to that?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But I still think they'd like to have a guy like I don't know. Again, there's just something about Miles Sanders that I think they look at and they go, it's not what we need or what we want as a running back. Whether Kenneth Walker is the guy that was the guy I was saying earlier. If you can get me Kenneth Walker, I think it's perfect. From Michigan State, then you've got to pair him with Kenny Gainwell and Boston Scott. You've got a really, really good, running back, situation there that I think is immediately better than what you currently have. And Miles Sanders can probably, now you can work some trades, as far as him, picks, Fletcher Cox, whatever. You've got some things to kind of throw out there and kind of make it like, hey, what can we get? What holes can we fill on this team?
Yeah.
I still think it's very likely Howie trades one of the first-round picks because it's just a Howie thing.
Listen,
Assets.
Me and you've already guaranteed this since the season ended. One of them will not be used.
One of them is not going to be here. I'd like
it'd be traded in some way,
I'm gonna call that and say that they do. I think they trade back or front, but I still think that
I could see that too. I could see them maybe trading back.
Do both.
I don't necessarily think so with that. I think if it happens, sure, why not?
And if they wanted a receiver, you really think they could have made the Devontae Parker thing happen, didn't you? Because the Patriots just traded for Parker, and me and you were talking about this last night, Steven. The Patriots.
And what did I tell you what it would take? It would take a second. Did I not?
Third-round pick. They trade a third-round pick for a guy. You're like, so if we really wanted him, you could get him. But as I said, I don't think they were in love with the idea of what they had to pay him when they don't feel as if we've got a quarterback that's probably good enough for it to matter. I'd love one of the two kids from Ohio State.
Yeah.
Or the kid from Arkansas, receiver-wise.
Yeah, I didn't expect them to get anybody once they signed Zach Pascal, a guy that they brought in for like a year or two to play in the slider on the more so. I think if anything, maybe they bring, just like you said, a guy like Olave in, who has shown interest in playing for the Eagles. He put it out there that he would like to play opposite of Devontae Parker. He likes Devontae Smith, my bad. And he likes the type of player he is. He would learn from him. I think it would be that route that the Eagles would rather draft somebody, and we have the capital to do it. I'd rather use the 3 picks here and then plugging guys on the defense. I don't think receiver than train.
As much as I would like to see us go and make another splash signing here before the end and go and get that safety, I don't think they're going to do that. What I think what we're going to see, if not staying pat with what we have, is you look at what's left in that cap space here. It's just a little bit south of $20 million. They have guys they're gonna want to resign, things of that nature. They still have to put X amount away for the fact that they have an excessive amount of picks than they do prior.
Did that number just go up too once they restructured Slay and Cox?
No, I think it's what we're sitting at right now. It's what we're sitting at right now. I think it's at like anywhere between like 18, 17 million, somewhere around there. You got to remember they normally put together like anywhere between 8 to 10 for draft pick and try to make sure they have fun.
Oh, yeah.
Something happens throughout the
but
season.
They came into the offseason though with like 20 million under, and then they
after Cox and then the restructuring. Yeah.
But then I'd love to see us go.
No, that's before restructuring and everything, because they had a lot of money left over.
I still think if someone else gets added between now and then, it's draft day trade. Yeah. I think that's what we're looking at, and then we'll see who gets cut and released as things happen and things that and we'll sign guys.
I think they know with how their team is built right now that it's better to go in the draft. That's why I think I would rather keep the 3 picks rather than trade one next year to get a quarterback, because I feel like it's better to fill the holes that you have now while you have a quarterback on the roster, whether he is here long term or not. We still have the rest of the.
I've already said it. Like we don't have Jalen Hurts jerseys and his biggest pom-poms, but we've already sat there and said we looked at the way it was. We looked at what the free agent market was. We looked at the draft the way it was. This is Jalen Hurts' team for the 2022 season,
and the fact that he has a friendly contract and only a $1 million for the next 2 years, and you can build a team around him, and if he's not the guy, then at that point in time you can go and get the guy, because then you have more pieces around your team to work with a guy to maybe lure in, because right now I said to go into this offseason we had holes to fill, and bringing a guy like Wilson or even Brady or whatnot wouldn't have made this team a Super Bowl team. We need more.
I already said if I was giving up all those picks to bring them guys in, it wasn't going to be it. I would give up a pick and a guy.
Where you can draft 3 guys right now that can be plug in and be big contributors to the team.
Fill the holes. See where it gets you.
Carson Strong isn't going to be there in the 4th or 5th round. That's ridiculous. Carson Strong probably has the best arm talent in the draft. I mean, have you seen that kid throw the football? Oh my God.
He's going to get drafted in the 2nd round, possibly 1st, because a lot of teams like him. But
I mean,
4th or 2nd.
His arm was like built in a factory.
Yeah.
All right. Outside of that, you haven't given me your grade. The off season. Come on, Zach. You got to put something on it.
Well, I think it's. I mean, can I give it an incomplete? Because that's what it is. The off season's not over, and I know there's going to be more things to be made. I've got to watch and see what else happens.
I'll give it a B- right now, because
it should be like a B- a C, somewhere around there.
Because I really like
the splashes, but you fix some of the holes without overpaying on guys or going after guys you don't necessarily have to.
Like, you brought in Reddick, he was a very good signing. Pascal, if he could catch the ball, fine. It's not anything crazy. Yeah. You barely paid him too, so it was
that's a good signing, considering he knows Sirianni from Indy.
You restructured Darius Slay, which was huge.
I'd like to see them get who's the defensive back from Cincinnati, from the University for Sauce or whatever his name is, the kid out of University of Cincinnati, the Bearcat.
Yeah. Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
He goes by Sauce Williams or whatever his name is.
Gardner.
Yeah. I mean, I know there's, like, over the next month, obviously with the draft going to be at the end of the month, we're between the next 2 or 3 shows, we're going to get a little bit more into that, obviously.
You gotta love a guy named Sauce. There's all types of fucking trash talk, and I mean, come on, man, it already. Like, you already got it set and ready to go in a city like this where we love to talk shit as a family. That kid could ball out here.
If I see 2 or 3 players from Alabama or Georgia in the first round that we take, I'll be happy, because I know any of those guys are going to be gamers.
Nakobe Dean would be a guy I think could play, like, again, a positionless football player. Plays linebacker, plays all over the field. He just makes plays. He's just going to make plays for you. I would be open to him in the first round.
I like Jordan Davis, a guy that could wind up replacing.
Of course, we all like Jordan Davis, Daniel, but I don't know. I don't think he's going to be there when we're picking. He'll be gone within the top 5.
All right, I guess I'll do it this way since we're still talking about the draft and it's not going away. If you guys had to pick a position that we would go after with our first selection, not a trade, just who you feel this team should target, what should fall to them, however your gut reaction is, what do you feel it's going to be? Zach.
Well, what as far as like what we'll target in the first round of the draft?
If you were peeking in the Howie Roseman's head and
tackle.
I think they're probably targeting defensive back and edge rushers. Nakobe Dean falls into the edge rusher situation. He can be an edge player. He's a guy that can play on the edge and make a ton of plays for you as a playmaker.
I'm gonna go away from the offensive line, even though I think we probably have one of the deepest, youngest, talented offensive lines in the game, and I do feel they will address it within the first 3 rounds. They will go and find probably the heir apparent to whoever Jason Kelsey will finally give the reins to. I feel they will do that in this draft, but I'm going to go with Zach, edge rusher. They're getting old. The re-signing of Derek Barnett is an absolute spit in the face to these fans who actually watch these games. Listen, I don't care how good his football IQ is. You cannot have good football IQ with being the guy who continually get called for penalties the way that guy does.
First off, I'm not defending it, but doesn't this remind you of a certain guy on the team that we loved it now, that we didn't want to resign, and we resigned him, and then he picked his game up and actually started playing like a good player in Brandon Graham? He played like
Brandon
shit.
Graham didn't get called on penalties at the freaking rate that freaking Derek.
No, he just didn't show up. That's the thing.
And I know he would be the guy that would be this close to a sack, and the guy would just happen to step up.
Yeah, but then he didn't show up. Like
Barnett's just popular because he recovered the fumble in the Super Bowl. I mean, let's just be honest. That's the only reason Eagles fans still worship the guy is because he was involved in that play.
He's been hit or miss. Like he's had some good games.
No, I'm not going to sit there and say that. He's not a gifted guy, and he's not.
I remember. I'm not defending him. I'm just saying I'm not surprised. I'm just sitting there saying, signing.
Listen, it's one of these things where I feel it's something they have to address, regardless if you agree with the Barnett thing or not, and he's going to be here, past the next handful of years. That Brandon Graham will probably be either a shadow of himself, or this will be his last year as a professional football player. We don't know which one of that is going to be. I hope he still has more than a handful of great plays to show us this season. We don't know what the future holds of it. If there'll be one after, definitely feel that Brandon should have been back, but Derek, I don't know if it is, but I don't know if his impact is going to be anything past this year or the next.
And I think that's why they brought back Barnett, because they knew. He knows the defense.
But so did Brandon. Brandon could be the whoever they drafted in the first or second round.
But he's coming off of injury, a major injury.
Exactly.
You don't even know.
Even more reason for him to be teamed up with whoever our rookie pick for that's going to be.
But the thing is, you brought back Barnett for nothing. That's the thing. You brought him back for nothing.
No, I don't know if it's nothing, but still.
It's for what they bring him back for. It's nothing. And for a guy like Roseman, if you can bring a guy back that knows the defense for nothing, he's going to take his chance with it, and then bring somebody else in too. But it's not like you signed him to $10 million a year. You barely signed him to anything. What's the worst that could happen? He'd do the same thing that he did last year, and you signed him for nothing. So it's like, he can only go up from there. He can't go any lower than he is now.
But the other thing is that the fact that they were actively looking for the wide receiver. I also say within. I
don't think they were that much. I think it was smoke and mirrors, and I think they did look at Ridley. Yes,
that's what I mean. They looked at Ridley,
and they got lucky.
I think the fact that is, I still think that it doesn't completely take wide receiver off the board for the first two rounds of the draft.
No, in the draft, of course. I think they're going to.
I said the draft.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it. Listen, hold on. I'm watching the ESPN mock draft right now, and they've got Sauce Gardner going 2nd overall. The defensive back from Cincinnati. They've got him going 2nd overall.
Now,
that's the other side of it. Do you think Howie would take a corner or a safety with that 15th pick?
I think he would take Gardner or the other defensive back.
If there's one worth it there, he would. But if there's a guy, like I said, like a Davis or a Dean or something like that that's there, I think he would take that because I think the defensive side of the ball is the one side that you need to build up right now. I feel like the offensive side, you got Devontae, they're going with Hurts. Your offensive line played really good last year. You really don't have to take somebody early. I could see him do it if somebody fell to them, but you really filled 2 positions last year, and then you got Kelsey coming back, and you have a little bit of depth with Siomatu coming back from injury. You got him coming back. So, and then you already are set at tight end. So I feel like they're going to focus more so on defense. And I feel like if Garner's there, they would look at him. But I feel like the holes are at defensive tackle and end more so than that other spot. The only way they take, I think, CB is if Garner's there. But that's just my opinion. I feel like he fits the team more so than the other 2 CBs that are out there.
I don't think they're going to spend a high pick on a defensive tackle when they know Hargrave's playing at a really elite level.
But you're gonna lose Cox after this year. That's just Hargrave.
That's fine. But like again, like Cox, you already know you're on the but that's not. I've got one elite defensive tackle. As we've seen with Fletcher Cox, having 2 of them does not make enough of an impact on my team for me to sit there and draft a guy that high. I'd rather draft a guy that's having a bigger impact on my defense.
But this team is used to having 3 or 4 defensive tackles on the team, and we only
and as we've seen, it doesn't give us an impact. We've got one guy that makes an impact. His name's Vernon Hargrave. Or not Vernon Hargrave. His name's
when we had 3 or 4, we were winning.
Vernon Hargrave used to be the fucking quarterback. His name's
he missed Brandon Graham and Javon Hargrave together.
Javon Hargrave.
But I think that's more so than the opposite side of the corner when you drafted people. I think they're gonna, if Garner's out there, they're gonna roll with the kid from Texas Tech.
We drafted that kid in the 3rd round last year, right? I mean, he had moments where you look fine as a rookie. I mean, I know you're not getting a ton of time because of who's ahead of you on the depth chart, but I think that's part of the reason why they're okay with the idea of moving on from Fletcher Cox, because I think they really think that. That kid they drafted last year to Texas Tech. Was he from Texas Tech? The defensive tackle.
I'm talking about the corner. You're thinking of Milton Williams.
You're talking about Zach McPherson. I'm talking about the defensive tackle Williams or whatever from Louisiana Tech, whatever it was. Yeah.
Williams. Yeah.
I think they've seen enough from him where that's why they feel comfortable with getting rid of Cox, because they know that he might be able to step in. Williams can step in.
But I'm saying,
if Williams can stay healthy, he might be a guy.
But say Garner's there and Jordan Davis is there. Who are you taking?
What's the question?
Jordan Davis or Garner?
Jordan Davis isn't going to be there. I mean, but Jordan Davis, Jordan Davis will be Warren Sapp. Like Jordan Davis is going to be Aaron Donald. Like Jordan Davis is going to be that physically gifted. He's just going to dominate a football game that fucking much. Yeah. But he's not going to be there. Like that's a
he's projected to be there.
I doubt it. If a guy like that's there, again, I mean, why are we having a conversation about drafting anybody else? That's your pick. I mean, that dude's a fucking he's Shrek like that. Like can run like a wide receiver. I mean, it's fucking insanity. Like
I think they
Like,
plug and
I mean,
play secondary.
I'll believe that when I see it. Ain't no way, no how I believe he's going to be there.
I just knew the Eagles and how they're built, where they'd rather go with depth on the D line than go with secondary because they would trust whoever's there already at secondary because they already have Slay there. They'll be like, okay, we drafted McPherson here. Let's see what he has, and we'll build the depth on the line because they like to rotate guys in and out to pressure the quarterback. And like, I'm fine either way with either guy. I just know what the Eagles would do between the two, and it would definitely be Davis.
I agree. I don't think Howie would go with a corner or safety with the first one. I think he would go with the defensive lineman. Last one before we wrap it up tonight. You guys happy with the overtime rule change for playoff football only, or do you feel it needs to be addressed into the regular season as well? Not flip flop it around when it comes time for playoffs.
I'm indifferent on it because I feel like they didn't have to switch it, but I think they did it for money. I think they did it just to get more eyes on the product. I think the whole thing with which was kind of funny, the Bills not getting a chance to touch in that crazy game, even though a couple years before that, it happened to the Chiefs, and the Chiefs didn't blink an eye or complain about it. I think they didn't have to do it, but they did it. So I'm just like, okay, it is what it is. Let's see how it plays out. But they really didn't need to make the change. I just thought that they did it for the heck of it.
Zach?
I mean, I think they did it because teams have been bitching about it and kind of wanted it to be a thing for long enough, and enough teams have spoke out about it where they said, okay, if this is what you guys want. And I get it. My thing is, I think it should be like, let's make it the same. And like, I don't need it to be different from the regular season and the playoffs. Like, make it what it is. Like, I first of all, I've always thought it was silly that like this idea that like if you kick a field goal, then the other team gets a possession, but if you score a touchdown, they don't. Either play sudden death or don't. Either give each team a possession or don't. Like, but this idea, if you kick a field goal, then they get a chance, but if you score a touchdown, they don't. I get nonsense. So either it's sudden death, and if the first team scores, wins, like in hockey and all these other sudden death sports, or both teams are going to get a possession and we play for a certain amount of time or whatever. Like, it's one of the two, though. But I couldn't stand.
I mean, if we're going to do crazy ridiculousness,
field goal, touchdown.
If you're going to do crazy ridiculousness, then why don't you just put each offense and defense on the team, put each on them on the 40, whichever one scores first wins. I mean,
I say once we get to overtime, it's XFL rules.
Oh man, yeah. And speaking of which, they're making a comeback. You got USFL getting ready to kick back off. It's a crazy time for sports. Speaking of crazy, not sure what happened to Brittany here. She must have had something going on. Haven't heard back from her manager just yet, but we'll get her rebooked and back on here. We'll be back next week, same time. I think mine is Zach. He's got a beauty appointment he has to go to keep himself pretty.
There's a wedding next. My cousin's getting married.
See, point taken. Me and Daniel be here. We're gonna have some fun. We're also gonna be joined by UFC veteran and a newly signed BKFC fighter. Mr. Jimmy Altero Rivera will be with us. I got a few things lined up for you guys. Again, make sure you like, follow, subscribe us on all the platforms. Make sure you keep your ears out. Again, I'm going to be hooking you guys up with some stuff this month. It's been long overdue. Me and Tom got to put some stuff together. So make sure you guys get on and get involved with the HD Premium members on YouTube. We're gonna put some stuff together through some of the sponsor stuff. Anybody using the codes, make sure you guys screenshot me your order using that A2D code. Even if you're in the local area and you guys head over to Gleason Bar, make sure you keep that receipt with the using that A2D code. we'll hook you guys up with some stuff. I got some signed jerseys, pucks, balls, cards. I got a few things that cards. Make sure it's cards to hook you guys up with. Keep tuned in for all our programming. I know we got WrestleMania here. I know Andy and the boys are going to be hopping on here talking some of that over the next day or so. Eagles fans, keep out. I hear Lane Johnson's going to be in the house. Other than that, we will be back next week. I'll catch you guys. I'm Steve. That's Zach. That's Daniel. And this was the weekly roundup. We'll catch you.